in. Difficult, interesting and problem to have that.
Yeah, well, Bevan French is back in the country. He finally
Good.
cleared COVID and got on a plane at the weekend. So he is now back at the country. I suspect that he won't play for about 3 or 4 weeks anyway. I don't want to preempt injury situations too much around that, but last year what we saw was he made his first few games for Wigan on the wing after missing a bit of pre-season again because Wigan let him be at home with his sick mother, obviously this time at home with his dying mother this time around. So I suspect what we'll see is him get a couple of reserve games, maybe not full 80s, but a couple of reserve games, then start a game on the wing for the first team, and then see where things go after that. That's what I think for Bevan French. But hey, what a problem to have at the moment for Wigan.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Always good to have world-class players in your sort of pivot positions. And with Field coming back this year and looking well, there you go.
Yep. Rich Wilkinson said, Leeds simply weren't good enough on the night. Poor decisions made in attack and defence allowed a good Wigan team to take us apart. Leeds need to be much better if this team is going to justify some of the hype. Excuses could be made by blaming some of the refs' decisions, but that would only serve to paper over the cracks. MOT, Leeds need to be better. And Callum Percy, as well, the Wigan drummer, got in touch. He said, what a breath of fresh air J Field is. Finally, some play what you see rugby. Let's see how long this lasts.
Who knows, if they keep it up, Matty Peake might actually smile at one stage.
Yeah. I think most of the things I wanted to cover have been covered there, to be honest, from this game. I did enjoy it. Patrick Mago's... Sorry, go on.
Understandably.
Patrick Mago's been called out a couple of times. I do agree with the comment that is what we've been looking for a while. And, you know, you're going to get a few loose offloads with him as well, but in this game there was none of that. And actually, after that offload to set up Field's try, then Leeds started trying to get 6 or 7 defenders around him, and it made our job getting up the field for everyone else a lot easier.
Yeah.
Bateman hasn't really been called out other than when we mentioned it in the stats. Genuinely, I think John Bateman looks way infused with his rugby this year. He had a part to play in a couple of Wigan's tries, didn't he, with offloads. Jay Field's try just before half time, and in the build up to the Sam Powell first try, which was kind of off the cuff play by Wigan that we generally haven't seen for some time. So, you know, we've scored all sorts of tries. Set plays from that scrum kick, long ranges last week and this week. Play through structure, the Liam Marshall try against Hull KR, and then play through off the cuff for this Sam Powell try here as well. So, there's a lot to be positive about in terms of we've finally got a team that score tries. But I thought John Bateman looks back to his best. Some players will definitely have benefited from having Wayne back around, and not to underdo any of what Matt Peake's doing, because I do think kind of his influence is big. But in this instance, I think John Bateman is a man who'll benefit from Wayne being around. He tackled everything in week 1. He set up stuff and looked a threat every time he had the ball in week 2. John Bateman's back to his best, kids. It can only be good for a World Cup year.
Yeah, well, let's see how that keeps going. Obviously, it's early days, but as you say, it must be exciting after the dull rugby that you got last year to see, Wigan playing some more expansive rugby. Let's see how we go. I'm not convinced Matty Peake actually exists. I think he's a cardboard cutout, and Sean Wayne is actually sitting behind him.
Oh no! Genuinely, the feel I get from the stuff I've seen in and around the club and that sort of stuff is Peter's set down a culture very much influenced by Wayne, but Pete is been in charge of setting the culture, setting the programs in place.
No, I'm being very literal here, Mark. I think it's a cardboard cutout. He didn't move at all. Every time you looked at him, honestly, it looked just like a cardboard cutout.
He's trying really hard to keep his emotions in check, isn't he?
Too bloody hard, if you ask me. Anyway. Good start for the Pies.
I Yeah, the one thing we haven't, was mentioned a bit, and it's interesting actually, because Sky pulled out two potential grey areas, rule areas. Well, not grey areas when they explained the rule, but two tries that Wigan scored that maybe could have not been given. And I know some people felt there wasn't a certain shot of Sam Powell grounding on his first try. I think he did lose the ball after he'd grounded it. I think it'd been in his hand, hit the grass, and then rolled out of his hand. But it was all quite quick, and the on-field ref was in the best position of anyone to give it for that one. But the other two, interesting stuff to talk about, I suppose, isn't there? From a rules point of view. But what I was going to say is it's interesting that there was a couple of lucky tries that Wigan got in this game, and it's not the standout conversation point for Wigan winning this game because Wigan were that much better than Leeds.
Yeah, much better. Yeah, they were much better.
Despite Wigan doing the best to give so many errors in the first 20 minutes. I mean, Wigan didn't actually have the ball in Leeds' half for 21 minutes because every time we got near to halfway, we made an error. We won a scrum on halfway and threw a forward pass from the base of the scrum.
Yeah.
But our defence was good enough in that period, really.
So the odd technical rule is that one with the heeled kick, wasn't it? Was it Bibby?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Which doesn't count as a kick, I understand. I didn't know that rule at all, but apparently after the fact that ought not to have stood because if it hits your heel and goes forward, it isn't a kick.
Yeah, completely. I didn't know that rule either. I'd never heard that come up before. So yeah, I was very surprised that Daryl Powell knew the rule because obviously we all know that he doesn't know the offside rule. Maybe after he got fined for that, he then went on an educational course and learned the rules.
After the Challenge Cup final last year, he clearly doesn't know the going in touch rule either. So yeah, it's amazing that he actually knew that rule.
Maybe Warrington have put some money into him learning the rules this year. But to be fair, yeah, it was a lucky try anyway.
It was.
Before we count into the fact that actually it shouldn't have been given.
No.
It's disappointing that, on a fair criticism of referees, it's disappointing that the video referee didn't know that rule.
Yes, it is. It is. He'll know it next time.
Yeah, we all will.
That's the first time I've ever seen it in watching the game for 50 years, but there you go.
The other one that was the Sam Powell second try, which was the young Jack Walker mistake on his own goal line, where the ball actually ended up being dislodged from his possession by Sam Powell's knee, and then Sam Powell touched it down. And they sort of were saying that a heel isn't kicking a ball, but the knee down to the toe is kicking a ball. So if a knee's kicked the ball out of someone's hands, that shouldn't necessarily be given, therefore. I kind of disagree a little bit with this one, because his knee, he wasn't trying to knee the ball out of Walker's hands. If Walker hadn't tried to escape from the in goal but carried the ball loosely, I think it's more the ball hit the leg rather than the leg knocked out the ball.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't Powell trying to kick the ball. I'm going to stand up for the man for a moment here. That wasn't Powell trying to kick the ball. That was the ball hitting him on the knee and then coming out.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
On his first try, I actually did think he dropped it, but you couldn't get a clear enough view of it. So I think the referee isn't, what you said is right. The referee's in the best position, and he gave a try on the field, and that's fair enough.
Yeah. And obviously Leeds, when they get Fussatua back, when they get Dwyer back, they'll be a better side. I actually think Reece Martin and Bentley weren't missed. I thought Mellor was one of their strongest runners, and I like Gannon. I think he's good. Yeah,
and I do. I mean, Bentley's obviously going through a really, really weird part of his career at the moment. I hope he sorts it out because I do think he's a
quality.
I think he's a very good player if he can sort his discipline out and not get any more injuries. And I like Reece Martin as well. So I'm sure Leeds will be stronger once they've got those guys back in the available in the squad. But you can't go 3-4. I mean, is it Catalan they've got this week? If they're 0-3, that's going to start looking a bit tricky.
There was a news story kind of linked into this game that we should mention, David. Do you want to tell everyone about that one?
Yeah, Richie Myler's facing 3 months on the sideline, which is bad for him with a groin injury. Having surgery this week, and he picked that up in round 1 against Warrington. So they'll miss him, that's for sure.
Yeah, real shame. Okay, I think the game with the most fan views is the game that was one of the more miserable ones to watch, David.
Yeah, and I didn't watch this one live because I chose to go and watch some football instead, but I listened to it on the radio and then I watched the video when I got home, and I think I chose the right game to go through just simply because there weren't snowflakes the size of your fist at Anfield, whereas there were up in Hull,
yeah,
which was quite amazing.
So the game finished quite a comfortable 38 points to 6 win for St Helens away at Hull FC. It was 20-0 to Saints at half-time, and other events as well as those 20 points in the first half meant the game was probably over at that point in any case. 12,673 were there. Chris Kendall was also there. Team stats. Let's start with Hull FC making less than 1,000 metres. Actually, they only made 746 metres. It's the second time in 2 games so far this season that they've made less than 1,000 metres. That's going to be a worry for Brett Hodgson. It's also the second time in 2 games though that St Helens have given up less than 750 metres. That is fucking ridiculous. That is impressive defence. For anyone who hates St Helens, and I'm not in their fan club in any way, shape or form, doesn't enjoy watching this side, you still have to, doff your cap to that kind of a stat.
Yeah.
What you might not be so impressed with is 26 errors in the game, an 11-15 count against St Helens, which meant Hull FC actually had more carries in this game, but St Helens still made 435 more metres, 6 breaks to 0, helped of course by being a man up for most of the game. Do you want to give us the individual stats?
Yeah, well, Big Al Walmsley, 5 tackle busts, 210 metres for a prop forward. Josh Sim, who came into the game because Hopewati got a rib injury, 2 tries, 6 tackle busts, 138 metres and 3 clean breaks. That's some stat line for the young man. Sione Matautia, who was my man of the match, 1 try and 5 tackle busts and 107 metres. Mark Percival, 1 try and 103 metres. For the losing Hull outfit, only Josh Griffin made the list, 1 try and 155 metres, and he was offside for his try as well, but there we go.
Was he?
Oh yeah, miles off.
Was there anyone? Was it not one of those scenarios where he was?
They didn't look.
Was it not one of those scenarios where there was no one waiting for the ball, and he got run back onside?
Nope.
Fair enough. To be honest, I didn't pay that much attention to it.
Miles off. No, it was miles off.
I watched the first half live, and then I went out and I watched the second half when I got back, and I was pretty drunk, and wasn't that interested.
Understandably.
Lots of people were interested though, as they should have been, David.
There were brilliant. Amazingly, we had, and coincidentally, we have someone here called Luke Gale's Stray Studs. A poor showing from FC, who were outperformed by Saints in every facet of the game. Justified cards for winning Gale, particularly poor by Gale, who should know better. Saints handled conditions well and scored some good tries. Much to improve on for FC before the big Luke Gale Stray Studs versus Mark Snide Golden Left Boot Showdown. Do I miss Snide? Yes. Am I still fixated with feet? Hell yes.
Oh, fixated with feet. That'd be an interesting Google search, wouldn't it?
It would.
Carsten said, FC were ill-disciplined today and Saints near perfect again. Who can stop them? Luke Gale with a total brain explosion, or did he get the tripping lesson from the grub wrong?
Mint Cake's Whistle. I've not heard this one before either. Me and my mate Liam...
No, it's a parody one, Kendall.
I'm guessing. Me and my mate Liam really fucked them black and whites up again. Wellsby doing his best Coot impression to milk yet another penalty. Give over, fella. Johnny L. tap and went down next time. Remember to hold the bit where the contact was made. Sorry I had to give their a try, but it followed the second late shot on a kicker, or I would have had to ask LMS not to do it again. I even managed to turn the first into a pen for my mighty Saints. That sounds like someone who might be a little bitter to me.
Dr. Hideous said, Saints had a great game. The ref had a great game. Channel 4 had a great game with some good, mature commentary that dealt well with the feisty first half.